Hello, everyone. My name is Chanel, and I'm going to be talking about Smart Start North Carolina. That's what I'm doing my equity analysis on. So, Smart Start appeared throughout our coursework, and as we know, it is a national model of community driven, equitable system building. So, as you may recall, we listened to the Build Initiative's Critical Connections podcast, and that is where Karen Ponder, Amy Cubbage, and Gail Heaton describe Smart Start as the nation's first statewide early childhood system. And that history is actually why I chose Smart Start for my equity analysis and why I was so excited to speak with local leaders who bring the policies to life. So, as part of the project, I was required to interview someone who currently implements or has implemented an early childhood initiative. So, I interviewed two leaders from Smart Star Rowan in North Carolina. So, the first person I interviewed was Amy Brown, and she is the executive director. And then on your right, we have Laura Villegas, who is the director of programs. One of the most striking things from my interview was how clearly defined the roles are within their local partnership. So Laura, she has been the director of programs, and she's been with Smart Start for 25 years. She oversees all in-house programs, including technical assistance for childcare providers, North Carolina pre-K oversight, Kaleidoscope Play and Learn groups, the Lending Library and Resource Center, while Amy, her boss, the executive director, supervises both the administrative and program teams. She handles the fiscal and contract works and leads program evaluations for all the contracted community programs. So together, their responsibilities reflect Smart Start's hybrid system design, where some services are operated in-house while others are contracted to trusted community partners. So this model gives local partnerships flexibility to meet the unique needs of their counties. So I asked the Rowan team what was their core mission, and they described it as supporting young children's learning, both through families and then through early educators. So their funding structure still reflects Smart Start's original purpose from the 1990s, and that is to address the state's child care quality crisis. To this day, 70% of local Smart Start funds must support child care related programming, including technical assistance, quality improvement, and teacher support. And then they share that the remaining funds support early literacy, parent education, health and wellness initiatives. And together, these components allow Smart Start to function as the support infrastructure for early childhood in their community. So what needs do they meet? As I just stated, they are going out into the community. They are recruiting. They're working with parents and caregivers. They're addressing language access and their location. They're reducing transportation barriers, and then they're expanding early literacy and parent-child interaction. So I asked them, how does Smart Start promote equity? And both of them emphasized three major themes. So the first was language access. So in their county, they have a large Spanish-speaking population, and Smart Start Rowan employs multiple bilingual staff members and then offers parallel English and Spanish version of their programs, including Kaleidoscope Play and Learn. And just a side note, I would like to encourage everyone to look more into Kaleidoscope Play and Learn. I think it's wonderful, and yeah, it was my first time really hearing about it, and I just thought I'd share that with you guys. And then the second thing was geographic access. So transportation is one of the biggest equity barriers in their county. And to address this, Smart Start offers playgroups and parent programs in locations across the county, not just near their central office. And then lastly, they do targeted outreach. Their strategic plan explicitly directs resources towards families with the highest needs, including those experiencing poverty, instability, or limited English proficiency. And these examples just show Smart Start's commitment to equity. It's not just theoretical, it's operationalized in staffing, programming, and outreach decisions. Um, So now I'm going to segue from talking about their county in North Carolina specifically to North Carolina holistically. So as we learned in our course, Smart Start emerged in the early 1990s during a time when North Carolina actually ranked near the bottom nationally in educational outcomes. There were large racial and socioeconomic disparities that were visible even before children entered kindergarten, especially in early literacy, health, and school readiness. So, research by Ladd and colleagues in 2017 confirmed what many policymakers already knew, and that was like by the time kids walked into kindergarten, some of them were already years behind. So, historical inequities. Scholars like Barbara Beatty and Sonia Mitchell described how early childhood services across the United States have historically been fragmented and unevenly funded. And that meant access to quality childcare and preschool often depended on where a family lived or what they could afford. And those patterns followed racial and class lines. So, North Carolina leaders realized that to improve K through 12 outcomes, they needed to start much earlier, before kindergarten. And in 1993, Governor Jim Hunt, the state launched Smart Start as a statewide system designed to coordinate services, improve quality, and support families. So Smart Start's creation reflected a growing recognition, echoed later by the National Association for the Education of Young Children. And that was that achieving educational equity requires systemic change. So in other words, equity can't be achieved just through like better curriculum. It has to come from better access, better funding, and stronger family supports. Now I just want to share the evidence that Smart Start has actually reduced disparities. So Duke University has conducted the most comprehensive evaluations of Smart Start to date. And their studies found that counties receiving higher Smart Start investments saw higher third grade reading and math scores, fewer special education placements, and lower rates of grade retention. These effects were strongest in high poverty counties, meaning Smart Start helped close early achievement gaps for low income, Black, and Latino children. And that's significant because it shows that investing in early childhood doesn't just improve individual outcomes, it narrows systemic disparities. Smart Start doesn't just focus on academics, it addresses the whole child, including health, family stability, and access to care. And this aligns with Neitzel's 2021 argument that true equity means addressing structural barriers such as poverty, limited access to quality care, and inconsistent early learning experiences. So, through its network of local partnerships, Smart Start has expanded access to health screenings, increased the availability of high quality early learning environments, and strengthened family support programs. These are all key strategies outlined in North Carolina's Early Childhood Action Plan. So, I asked the ladies at Smart Start Rowan what they wish policymakers knew. And when asked, they emphasized one thing. They wish that parents, the public, and that policymakers knew that early childhood is foundational. We know so much about brain development and how children learn through play, yet policy and school systems often lag behind the research. They want policymakers to value early childhood work, recognize its scientific validity, and understand that the transition into kindergarten should align with what we know about young children's needs. So in conclusion, Smart Start's equity legacy and the work ahead. To sum up, Smart Start represents one of the nation's most comprehensive and equity-driven early childhood initiatives. It has improved outcomes for thousands of children, strengthened local partnerships, and proven that early investment pays off, especially for communities facing the greatest challenges. However, they are still continuing challenges. Sustaining that progress will require stable funding, fair wages for educators, expanded access in rural areas, and deeper inclusion for immigrant families. So I asked the ladies at Smart Start Rowan, what are your ongoing challenges? And they share with me that transportation remains the #1 obstacle, especially in rural areas. Fare among immigrant families. Participation has declined due to broader political concerns. And then, to my surprise, they shared that despite having such a strong social media presence, there are still awareness gaps. There are many families that they've encountered that don't know about what Smart Start does or what it is. So, they also shared basic need stress. Many families are prioritizing food and housing, and they're just focused on survival right now. And so they're not necessarily thinking about early childhood programming. It's like the last thing on their mind. They even mentioned like the hierarchy of needs, and I was sad to hear that. And these challenges mirrored what we studied in our course about systemic inequities and social determinants of participation. So although Smart Start Rowan has been fortunate with staffing, they reported that the broader early childhood workforce crisis has deeply affected centers in their region. So low wages and post-COVID burnout have made recruitment and retention harder than ever. And to help address this, Smart Start is partnering with like a local community college to create a childcare academy to fast track new entry-level providers into the field. So this interview, it just grounded everything we studied in class and confirmed that Smart Start's model, their local partnerships, their flexibility, community concerns, and equity focus is not just good policy on paper. It's working in real communities with real families every day. Hearing directly from program leaders reinforce why Smart Start remains the strongest, most community-centered early childhood system in the nation. Thank you guys so much for listening.